There are three applications that Mr. John can be able to use to achieve this. The first one is the backlog overview. The second is the manage maintenance planning buckets. And the third is the manage notifications and work orders. And we're going to see how he does this. So to do that, we're first of all going to create what is known as a maintenance planning bucket. Like I said, Mr. John's goal is to be able to have all his work orders that have been scheduled for next week in one place. So let's assume that he's tired of using the SAP GUI where he has to run through order lists and then export to Excel before he can start filtering or use the basic start and finish date on the system. So here he's in the maintenance planning bucket area, and what he wants to do here is to create a maintenance planning bucket for himself. Okay, now before we start this, it's important to note that it is based on Mr. John to decide how long he wants his planning bucket to run. Mr. John could decide to create one bucket from the beginning of the year to capture all of his maintenance work order. He could also decide to create a planning bucket that would capture work orders per week. Okay, so this is based on what Mr. John wants. But also, whatever it is that he creates as a planning bucket would automatically capture work orders falling within the range of the dates that he has selected. Now that you've understood this, let's see how he does this. Now he clicks on the create button here and then he gives it a label. So I'm going to give it week 2 because I'm creating a planning bucket for week 2. And then I say week 2 planning buckets, maybe say week 2 mixing departments bucket. Okay. And then here he can select what type of planning bucket he wants. Now remember that Mr. John has two problems. Okay, he has a fear of trying to get all his work orders in one place to be able to send out to his team at the end of the week. And then he also has another fear, which is having to capture all the work orders that have been created after a shutdown. So it gives us two types here, which is operational and event-based maintenance. Now, let's assume he wants to create for events. We're going to see how this turns out when he creates for events. So when he clicks on event, automatically the system would tell him to create an event. So it means that when he clicks on event, he has to create the type of event that he wants. Okay, so because of course we know that in industries there are a lot of events that plays out that we might have to maybe stop the machine for a certain period of time. The most popular one that we are all aware of are major shutdowns that companies have, organizations have. Okay, so we're going to click on create event and it navigates me here. So for Mr. John, he might just give this description as, so I could just say maintenance. Okay, and then event type. So now we have two types of event types, okay, on the SAP system as standard. Then we have the small maintenance event and large maintenance event. Okay, so for some of our companies that do maybe cleaning, inspections and lubrications, CRLs, okay, where we have to maybe stop the machine for a little while or interrupt the machine for a little while, not necessarily stop, but of course the machine is interrupted for a little while, could decide to create an event that whenever this type of maintenance are being done, so it will automatically capture those notifications that are created within that period. Okay, so for Mr. John, he's going to have to select large maintenance event, which is for shutdown. Okay, so I'm going to click on this and then he automatically creates. So now that he has created the maintenance planning event, this is what he has created. So he can then come up here to set, okay, so here he has the event base that he has selected. And here he can impute the time. Okay, he can impute the start date and then the end date. Okay, so what we're going to do here, whatever dates that Mr. John selects here means that all the work orders that are going to be having their start dates within these dates, okay, would fall into this planning bucket. So it means two things. It speaks to the work orders or notifications, and it also speaks to the validity of this planning bucket. So that means that this planning bucket is only valid for 7 days. And the moment this planning bucket expires, which is stops being valid by the 8th of this month, it stops capturing those work orders. Okay. And that's why I said in the beginning that Mr. John has the chance to be able to also create planning bucket in the beginning of the year that can run for 1 year. But the only bad part of this, or can I say messy part of this, is that he would have a whole chunk of work orders and notifications just on one planning bucket. So I think for me, it might defeat the main purpose of planning. Yeah, but of course, it depends on what he's planning for. Okay, he can be able to limit this planning bucket. So that means that even if he creates a planning bucket having a validity for 1 year, he can also limit it to a specific technical object. So that means that if there are certain maintenance that are going to be done on this particular compressor or on this particular generator, it would only capture work orders that already have equipment, compressors and generators as equipment. Okay, so he can limit that using this. So here he can select the technical object that he wants, and then he gets it on the system. We have a lot of scopes. For this scope, he can limit using the planner group. He can limit using the plan section. He can limit using the work center. So this means that his planning bucket is only going to capture work orders that are going to be falling within this range. Now, how does this help Mr. John during his shutdown? Remember that before any major shutdown, there are major plannings that are being done prior to the shutdown. One of the most important planning that is done before shutdowns are plannings for resources, plannings for resources like labor, materials. These are plannings that are being done before the major shutdowns. And remember that when these plannings are not effectively done, the shutdown activities for shutdown might be a bit slow, especially in the part for maintenance. Now, how does this application play out? Now, Mr. John can be able to create this planning bucket prior to the shutdown. So that means that this date, which is his start and end date, is going to have to be within the range of his shutdown. So the start date is going to pick up the dates that the shutdown is starting, and then the end date is going to pick up the dates that the shutdown is ending. Whenever his team during that shutdown creates maintenance work orders, maybe to do any sort of repairs or maybe to whatever it is that they're doing during that shutdown, all the maintenance work orders or notifications are going to be captured inside this planning bucket. This saves him a lot of stress, because many times in some organizations, maintenance planners are always stressed after shutdowns, because after major shutdowns, your leaders always want to know how much have been incurred for the shutdown and what were done, what are the work orders that were done, what are the expenses that were made during that shutdown. And with just one planning bucket, you can be able to capture all these maintenance orders inside of it. Now let's create this work order and see how Mr. John can be able to effectively manage this in shutdowns and also in operational maintenance activities. So we're going to click on create, and automatically he has his a planning bucket created. Now, how does this planning bucket work? So we're going to have to navigate to the backlog overview application. So this is how the maintenance backlog overview application looks like. And now you can see that there is a link between the maintenance backlog application and the planning bucket. Now, this is where the link occurs in this reference planning bucket. So here, what we have to do is to select from the pool of the planning bucket that we've created by clicking on this, and voila, this is how it looks like. Now, this tells us that currently Mr. John has 0 work orders in these buckets. Okay, now what if it's time for the shutdown? What do you think is going to happen? Technicians are going to start creating work orders, right? Notifications, whatever it is that they are creating for the shutdown. As they create these work orders would automatically be inside this planning bucket. So that means that this is not going to be 0. Now let's quickly create a work order and see how these work orders can be able to be displayed in the maintenance backlog overview. Now, this is how it looks like after the technicians have already created these work orders during shutdowns, or maybe he has work orders that have been scheduled and those schedules fall within that planning start and end date that he has indicated in his planning bucket. So basically what this is telling me here that I have 5 maintenance orders on backlogs. Now that Mr. John wants to now be able to know if these work orders are okay for his team to be able to use for the following week, he also has to know if those spare parts, materials, those spare parts services are already available, or if these orders have been released, if they've been approved. He has to know all these details. And we all know that in the SAP GUI system, he can only know that by using the order status to know if it has been released. Okay. But here he does not really need to open up these work orders. He doesn't need to open up the work order to be able to know this. Okay, we already have one screen that can tell him if all of these has been approved, if these materials are already ready before he sends it out, and also his priority as well. He can also know if these work orders that have high priorities are something that his team has to go for first or not. So here we have indicators. How can he be able to know the status of these orders? Now we already see that the blue indicator means that we have work orders that are still under approval, meaning that they've not been approved yet. Okay, and then the 5 means that we have 5 maintenance orders that are still under preparation. So if you're currently using the SAP GRID system, you might find these terms a little bit new for you. Well, I'm going to be doing a video that would explain this 9-phase based model for you. I don't think I've done a video on that, but this is a new feature that has been introduced by SAP, which is currently not on the SAP GUI. So for the SAP GUI users, we all know that we are already used to our release function. For here, we have more functions like approval, preparations, screening. These are very new terms. Okay, so here I can see that I have 4 maintenance orders under approval. So when I click on these orders, I can see which of these orders are under approval. When I click here, I can see which of these orders are under preparation. But for me to have a full glance of these orders, I would have to click on this space over here. So when I click here, I have my orders already displayed for me here. Now I can see my priority. So I can see that I have 2 medium priority maintenance orders, which means that I'm safe. So what if I had a high priority maintenance orders? Based on the resources that are available and the status, I will then decide if this is a work order that I would want my team to execute. I can also see the final due date and the scheduled start to be able to help me to see if these orders are already on negative backlog or if they are still safe for my team to be able to execute. This is wonderful. Honestly, it is wonderful. Why? Because I get to have one screen where I can be able to have all this information. If my work orders already have stock components attached to them, I can see the status of these stock components. If they have non-stock components attached to them, I can also see the status of the non-stock components, seeing if they're already available or not. If they have services, I can still see the status of the services, knowing if they are still available or not. So here I have one service here, and this is basically telling me that this service that I put here I have this indicator telling me that there's a external service here, but then the purchase requisition has not yet been created. Okay, and then here is telling me that it has been created, but it has not yet been approved. Okay, so here it's telling me that it has been created, it has been approved, it has been created, it has been approved as well. Okay, so this basically gives you a whole round of information about all your maintenance orders and can help Mr. John to be able to make a very sharp decision without having to run through any order list application and then export into Excel. Thank you very much. If you found this video very interesting, please like and then leave your comments on how this video has really helped you. If you have friends that are maintenance planners, team leads, you could share this video, this YouTube page with them so we could grow together. See you soon.